So after understanding what is civilization, what are the characters that will define the civilization, so all such things. So in today's class, let us begin our chapter Harappan civilization. So what is Harappan civilization? So here, the word Harappa, okay, if you look at the map of India here, this place, the dot, red colored dot was Harappa, and this entire area which was with a different color, like slight pinkish color, this the span of Harappan civilization. So why this civilization is called Harappan civilization? Because the first site that is excavated by archaeologists is this Harappan region. So it is right now in the borders of India and Pakistan, or most of the part is in Pakistan. I mean, divided India. So the first site to be excavated by archaeologist John Marshall and R.D. Banerjee, so was Harappa. So here, this discovery of Indus Valley civilization was in 20th century, and it was very important even in the event of history of India. So this point I have discussed earlier also, that till the discovery of this Harappan Indus Valley civilization, the world used to consider that Indians were not locals, they were not native of this area, they were migrants from Central Asia. They used to believe that there was a wrong notion that they are migrants, they are not the original settlers in this area. So unlike, like Mesopotamians, how they have started a great civilization by settling at one place. So here they felt that Indians are not like that. But this discovery has created a new historical thing for India. So this discovery of Indus Valley was an important event in the history of India. Till then it was believed that history of India was with the advent of Aryans. So these Aryans are nothing but they considered that maybe these people who settled in the who are these people, like Indians were once Aryans. So these Aryans were the Central Asian tribes. They came and settled here. So Indians are not native people of India. So that was a assumption. But later, once Harappans was discovered, then they understood that Harappans were much earlier than Aryans, and Aryans were migrants, of course, but Harappans were local to this area, and they had a civilization in India. So by this discovery of Indus Valley civilization or Harappan civilization, India was also kept with the other civilizations of the world. We got the status of oldest civilization, and we were kept along with other places which had their own first civilizations, like we have seen in the map, right? Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and all. We were even such ancient people. That was the status we got after this discovery. So Mohenjo-daro, another city, was discovered in 1922. And see here, if you look at the map, this was Mohenjo-daro and this was Harappa. Mohenjo-daro was John Marshall, Harappa was R.D. Banerjee. So both have discovered such important places and they contributed for the Indian history a lot. And Indus Valley civilization is best known as Harappan culture, Harappan civilization. Why the see as Indus River is flowing here, and on the valley of this river, these two great cities called Harappa and Mohenjo-daro emerged. They named it as Indus Valley civilization. Indus is the river, and Indus Valley is the place where they civilized, they settled and civilized. Then why it is called Harappan? As I said, Harappa was the first place to be discovered. As archaeologists discovered Harappa as the first place, then they named the civilization also as Harappan civilization. And the objects found in this Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were distinctive. They were very unique when they compared. And also, in case of Harappan culture, these distinctive objects are very. So, what objects are unique when they compare? So, the objects that are unique, the evidences that they found are weights, okay, that means which used for measurement, stone blades, tools, and baked bricks. So, the bricks which are made with clayey mud, later they are sun dried and it is called baked bricks. And because of these things, you know, there was some uniqueness to this culture. Otherwise, you may think that no, they might be having some similarities with other cultures, right? If they found some baked bricks, if they have similarity with Mesopotamians, what do you assume? You assume that, oh, they are the Mesopotamian people who came here, but not like that. This particular civilization had its own unique evidences, like the stone blades, weights, baked bricks. They have their own style of things. So this Harappa is located at the province of West Punjab. So if this is India and Pakistan border, if you consider, so I'll take this yellow color line. If you take this yellow color line as border of, or I'll draw if you can't see that properly, black line I'll take. See, this black line will say this is India and Pakistan border, and now here Punjab will be there. East Punjab will be in India, and West Punjab went to Pakistan. So Harappa mostly is in the West Punjab of Pakistan. So this is about the introduction of Harappan civilization. See, archaeologists are the people who excavated and discovered this civilization, right? So these archaeologists came to a conclusion that there was a civilization here through some evidences. So without evidences, you cannot simply say that there was a civilization here. So that evidences were called sources. So what are these sources now? Our knowledge of Harappan civilization is based entirely on archaeological remains. So when the archaeologists have dug the place, some remains were evident. That means some objects or something which they were using, they were revealed from the deeper layers of the earth. When they dug the earth, some objects came out and they could see some remains of their houses or whatever you call. All those things are the only source of information. Like, with the buildings. If you look at this picture here, these are the walls of buildings which came out of the deeper layers of earth. When they dug, along the banks of Indus River, these walls and other things which were submerged in earth, they could bring it up. Pottery. See, this is the kind of pottery which they got when they dug the, Indus Valley. Sculpture. Sculpture, you take, this is a kind of, saint. They call him a saint man. And now this mother goddess, bronze statue, many such things come under sculptures. So these were all, remains. When they dug, they were all, they got through the earth layers. And this is so because no adequate written records are available. Archaeologists have seals. Suppose, see, this is the seal which was found with some language on it. Except this language on the seals, there is no place where written records were available. There is no such proof that some written record, separately a book kind of thing, was never seen in Harappan or Indus Valley region for archaeologists. Only they got these kind of material things, and somewhere here on the tablet or a seal, which was like clay tablet, some form of writing was observed. This was the only source of writing. Nowhere else any books and other things were not found. So a number of seals were discovered with a few letters engraved on each, but the script has not been deciphered. This they could sense that this is some language, but they could not translate this. So the modern linguists, they were still working. Harappan language is still not deciphered. We don't know what these letters mean. If this is known, it will be again a revolutionary discovery in Harappan civilization. Therefore, the major sources of our information of civilization are this kind of, buildings, pots, seals, this kind of sculptures. So these served as a major sources. So the major sources of the, Harappan civilization that we will discuss. So there are many sources, but among that we will discuss the major sources. One among such is the Great Bath. So what is this Great Bath? So it is one of the largest public buildings at Mohenjo-daro. So this was found at a place called Mohenjo-daro. And if you look at the picture here, By this visual, you can understand that this is a kind of swimming pool, right? We'll come to know whether it is for swimming or for what purpose they were using. It is like a pool, right? Where you can observe that this, somewhere here water can be stored. There are some steps here. By this basic understanding, we come to know that this is something like a water pool. Maybe it was used for bath, hence they call it as the Great Bath. And this Great Bath was revealed outside when the archaeologists made, when they dig the earth layers. When they dig the earth layers, what happened? This Great Bath got emerged up. And then they started understanding what was the purpose of this. It has a large rectangular tank in the courtyard surrounded by a corridor on all four sides. See, this is a rectangular tank, right, where water is stored, and it is having a courtyard. So rectangular tank in a courtyard, that means this is a kind of central area. This central area is referred as courtyard, which is rectangular in shape, and it is surrounded by a corridor. See, if you look at all this area, this is the corridor area, right? So this is the corridor area which is present, and there are two flights of step, one in the north and the other in the south. Here is north steps, and down here you will have steps to south, and so that is leading into the tank. The steps were leading into tank. They help people to enter into the tank. So a courtyard which is rectangular in shape, a corridor on all the four sides, and a flight of steps from both north and south side so that people can enter into the tank. And also to make the pool watertight, burnt bricks and mortar lined with bitumen and gypsum were used for construction. So what happened here? The thing is, from now you understood that this place is a place with water, right? So here water is stored in this courtyard kind of area, and as water is stored, how to make it waterproof? If they don't make it waterproof, what will happen? The water may, leak, or it may make it soft. So what happened was, so here they made it watertight with burnt. So already bricks are there. They used bricks for construction here, and also they used mortar. So to join these bricks, they used mortar. There was no cement those days, so they used mortar. And later they have coated this area. So wherever they joined bricks and all, no, they have coated this with bitumen and gypsum. So what did they coat it with? Bitumen and gypsum. What is bitumen? It's a black, uh, polish kind of thing which comes generally, it's like, fuel residue we call. That I'll show you in the next slide how it looks and all. And gypsum. Gypsum, right? Like we call lime, isn't it? Sunnaprai antam మనం. So gypsum. So this kind of things were used to coat these bricks so that water will be tightly stored there. Otherwise, they may leak. They may spoil the bricks and other things, and they may leak outside. And the purpose of pool may spoil. And here, the water, the bath was provided by a well in an adjacent room. See, to get water into this pool, there was a well arranged from here, and the water enters through some internal channels into the pool. Also, there were porticos and sets of rooms. So here, if you observe, these are like, collapsed rooms, walls of the rooms. There were some rooms here around the wall, around this great bath, which were collapsed. Only walls were remaining here now. So I can't show you. So there were rooms, there were porticos, and a stairway which led to an upper story. So there was another story of this story, in the sense another floor through which it can lead. No, you can even climb and go there. It was not there in this picture because they were all, collapsed. Some scholars believe that these were provided for the members of kind of priesthood. So some priests, they might be living in these rooms and all. That was belief of some scholars. And some believe that the rooms were provided for changing clothes. As it is a pool, maybe people were using these rooms which are present here to change their clothes. So the structure with several distinctive features has led scholars that it was meant for some kind of ritual bath. So finally, this is not something for swimming and all, but a ritual bath. So what do you mean by ritual bath? Generally, even some cultures they do this, right? During some festivals and all, what they do, they go and leave, deepam and all in the, pool. In the same way, here, this was used for some, like, you say in temples we have some water pools, right? We look it very sacred and all. Similar manner, even this bath was considered by some scholars. In our last slide, we have discussed about the introduction of great bath. Continuing with that, see, here we learn what is the importance of great bath. So we already know that the great bath is serving as a source of information. So it is a very important source to know about the Harappan civilization. And this great bath is present in Mohenjo-daro, a very important city of this Harappan civilization. So how it is important? What is the importance of it other than its knowing of civilization? It throws light on the life of people and culture. So how people were there in those days, what is their culture? All such information can be known through this great bath. So the construction of great bath indicates that the art of building had reached high degree of perfection at that time. So by various systematic process. So if you look at the great bath, outline map, so like, having a portico around, having steps, having an inlet of water, outlet of water, having a connection to well to pump water into this. See, this is a great engineering skill which you can observe, by which we can say that it had reached high degree of perfection at that time. So the building itself, the construction of this great bath itself indicates that they had high engineering skills in those days. So this massive structure points out that there might have existed a ruling class that could mobilize labor, collect taxes, and build such a huge structure for the public. So wherever such huge, so if you look at our culture, all temples, if you take in India, most of them were constructed by kings, right? Because they are the people who are super rich. They collect taxes from people, and with the taxes, they used to construct temples. So in the similar manner, the Mohenjo-daro, when it was excavated, and when such huge structure was found, archaeologists assumed that the construction of such a huge structure is possible only when a ruling class exists. So when ruling class exists, they collect taxes, and through that class, I mean money which is collected, they can build such a great structure, and by using labor. So otherwise, why do you think people individually go and construct such things? They won't do. So maybe there were some kings who were ruling this place, and they might have collected taxes, and with the taxes they got, with the huge money they got, they might have built such, or they might have mobilized. I mean, there might be no money and all, but by providing some benefits to labor, they might have made this construction possible. So here, first thing is great engineering skills will be revealed. Second thing is this will be this is revealing a ruling class presence in those days. So without this ruling class, there is no such structure will come into true. And most of the scholars agree that it might have been used for religious purposes. So that which indicates the ceremonial bathing in sacred tanks, pools, and rivers since time immemorial. So the other importance of this great bath that scholars agree is this might have been used for religious purposes. See, uh, why they consider that this is religious purpose? I mean, this has been used for religious purpose because certain in those even today there are some practices where people go to tanks and they go to pools and rivers and they perform certain rituals. They do some puja there here and they try to leave Deepam and all in water, or they try to take a holy dip in water and all such things. Even in temples, you see such kind of pools. So some scholars believed that as it is in center of the town, maybe they were using it for a holy purpose. So which is like ceremonial bathing. Even today people you see in Ganga and other rivers, they go and take a holy dip. And in temples they have separate pools of water where they go and dip and later they go for darshan and all. So similarly they might have done for this. So these are all the assumptions of scholars based on these structures. And this was one another importance. One is engineering skill, one is there might be a ruling class because such huge structure can't be possible without ruling class, and third is it might be used for a religious purpose. And the design of the great bath efficient plan, I mean it reveals the efficient planning related to water supply and sewage disposal. So here in this great bath structure there was inlet to water, fresh water, and an outlet for water which has been used. So after some time they have to change the water. So there is an inlet and outlet, and you can see they have coated all these things with gypsum and bitumen kind of things, which reveals that they had an efficient planning. So it reveals efficient planning of the people of Harappan. So this is about the importance of Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro. So this is about the another source which reveals about the Harappan civilization. See, this is the citadel. So what is this word? It is called citadel. What do you mean by citadel? It is the raised area of each city. So generally, so if this is the entire city, if you take this is the entire city of Harappa or Mohenjo-daro, the all cities in this civilization will be planned like this. So this part is called lower town, and this elevated part, okay, this will be of great height and it will be somewhat height, okay. So this will be with the city outside will be lower town and this is called upper town. And what happens here is the raised area of the city was called citadel. So this part is called citadel. So this you are seeing here. See here, it is somewhat high from the ground, isn't it? And this high area in the city was known as citadel. And this is the watchtower which was used to observe around the city. So it owed its height to the buildings constructed on mud brick platforms. So it was so high, and on this height the buildings were constructed on mud brick platforms. If you see, these were the bricks that were used for the construction of the city in this citadel area. So this citadel area was constructed using mud bricks, and the citadel had the houses of ruling class and important buildings like great bath, granary, assembly hall and workshops. So this part of a city is separate and it is very high when compared to the other part of city. So as I said here, so if this is the lower town, to a, see this is lower town, consider this as lower town, and it is raised above the ground, and on this there are some constructions made. This is called the citadel, okay. So this high raised portion is called citadel. So on this high platform, another city was constructed with a compound wall, and which you are seeing here. Okay, this is lower city and this is upper city, which is called citadel. And what does this citadel has? The citadel has Great Bath. If you take Mohenjo-daro, Great Bath is present in this citadel area. Also, we have granaries. Granary is nothing but a storehouse for food grains. And assembly hall. There was an assembly hall built for the all people of that city to assemble and pray or something else. So that was one hall which was present. And granary, you can see the granaries here in the picture. As I said, no, they used to store the food grains and all. And you can see the height, from which it was elevated, isn't it? So when it was dug and all, I mean, it resembled like as if it is elevated structure. So granaries, great bath, and many workshops where people used to do all goods, and they used to manufacture certain things, and all such things were present. And the citadel points to the elaborate planning that went into the development of cities and justified that Harappan civilization was an urban civilization. So the way the city was planned, this citadel and other things, a watchtower, assembly hall, such huge constructions like Great Bath. So this all possible only when they are leading an urban life, a town way of life. So all these structures revealed that, especially the citadel area. See, these mud bricks and all, using them for construction of any construction in the citadel area reveals that this area was an important source of urban civilization. It reveals that, as Great Bath revealed the religious aspect, the engineering skills of such things, this area also reveals that people were living urban lifestyle, and hence the citadel area, as I said, they may have a ruling class because it's a very big area, all big buildings were present, so which will reveal that maybe the ruling class were living from that place. So this also the main important, the citadel serves as a source for revealing Harappan as an urban civilization, and specific buildings and houses of ruling class indicate some sort of social classification. So there are some big buildings and houses, there are some small houses, there are some workshops here. This kind of things reveal that socially people were divided and they were living. The labor is divided and they were living in a one place. So the citadel area reveals two things. One is Harappan will be an urban civilization because all such big buildings and all you can see in town areas. Second thing it reveals is as ruling class and other class people are living in separate set of houses, and other people are having workshops and granaries are there. These small things will reveal that there is a ruling class which is generally having high status. There might be a working class which is having lesser status. So which is nothing but there is a social division among people. So this is the importance of the citadel area.